Okay, and welcome to this latest episode of Movers and Shakers. Today joining me is Tom Brooke. He's the CEO of the Golf Club Managers Association. Tom, thanks for being with us.
Hi Mark, thanks for having me.
No, not a problem. As always, we start very much on a personal level in terms of everything that led up to you before you became the CEO of the GCMA, which obviously most people will know it as. So talk us through your life in, as a child and before you became the CEO.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark. Well, yeah, I suppose sports always played a pretty big part in my life. Both of my parents were PE teachers, so that was the starting point, I suppose. And I was a bit of an all-rounder at sort of school and growing up in terms of my sport participation. Played a lot of team sports, rugby, football, cricket. Also played quite a lot of tennis. I was a keen skier, still am. And then golf didn't really sort of feature until a bit later on, really, I suppose, sort of late teens, I guess. And typically, as many people did, I got into golf through my father. He started playing golf as many chaps did around the sort of 90s, having retired from playing rugby. Couldn't play squash anymore because his knees gave in, so he took up golf. And then I sort of got a set of clubs and started playing in my sort of mid to late teens, and golf became another keen sport interest of mine, I suppose. And I've never played at a particularly high level, never been a PGA pro. Everyone always assumes you're a really great golfer because you work in the industry, but that's certainly not the case. I'm just a very average golfer that enjoys the game a lot.
I'll second that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not many crack it, do they? Not many people ever really crack it, if anyone. Yeah, so I really enjoy golf. Mainly play socially. I'm not much of a competitor in golfing terms. I'm probably too competitive to enjoy it, which is why I've tended to keep it more on the social side. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that then led to the career. I studied a degree in sports studies and business, and then had various roles in the leisure industry, and then joined the golf industry in 2006. I was with a company called Crown Golf at the time. I'm sure you know of. They're a national operator of golf clubs, and at the time in the 2000s they had sort of over 30 clubs, and they were. I think it's safe to say they, along with some of the other group proprietary operators, were sort of leading the way at the time in evolving the profession of club management to be a career. And they were quite actively recruiting from the leisure and hospitality markets for golf club managers. And that's how I was given the opportunity. Became a golf club manager in 2006 at the age of 27 years old. At the time, my first club was a small 18-hole pay-and-play club in Surrey. And I stayed with Crown Golf for about 8 years and ran 3 different clubs in that time, sort of progressing up to a 36-hole, 700-member club with a big sort of pay-and-play and society and function business as well. And then from there, I became managing director of another group operator called Glendale Golf. They're an operator of 7 golf courses nationwide. So it's a fantastic opportunity to be in more of a sort of group leadership role and look after a team of golf club managers and a group of golf clubs. So that was a brilliant opportunity. I really enjoyed my time there with Glendale for 7 or 8 years. And then just over 2 years ago, I was delighted to have been appointed as CEO of the GCMA, which is where I am today.
Great stuff. Obviously, you do a lot. The GCMA does a lot of different things, obviously acting primarily on behalf of the managers, but I thought it'd be interesting I'm sure your remit is probably a lot wider than possibly many people probably appreciate.
Yes, well, it's certainly a pretty wide-ranging role, one that gets me out of bed every morning with a fresh challenge and always keen to progress and look at what we can do to progress the association with the sole intention and sole purpose of supporting the professional and personal well-being of our members. That's everything that we do. That's our purpose. That's our why, as Simon Sinek would say. And we're an association that's been in existence since 1933, originally the Association of Golf Club Secretaries as it was then. So we've evolved hugely, as you can imagine, over the last 90 years as it is now. I think whilst that sort of sole purpose has always been there, the needs and demands of the industry, and in turn our members who are responsible for running 2,400 clubs across the UK. We've got about 1,500 members. So our remit spreads throughout any aspect of golf club management and what a golf club manager should need. So we're there to represent our members. We have a seat at the table with the governing bodies, the R&A, the home unions, our colleagues at Bigger and the PGA. So our role there is to represent the voice of the golf club manager and ensure that when strategic discussions are happening at the top table, that we are able to feed those discussions back to our members, but also the other way as well, and ensure that the voice and the needs of the golf club manager is represented at that top table. And that's so important. And I think quite often gets missed that there's a lot of direction, a lot of decision making within golf that affects the operation of golf clubs, and the people that are responsible for delivering those strategies and those initiatives on a day-to-day basis, and ultimately making sure they're a success or not, the golf club managers. So they have to be absolutely involved in those discussions. So we have a big role to play there. Education and professional development is a big piece for us, and increasingly so as golf club management becomes a career, and has been probably for the last 20 years now. It's really now recognised as a career. So the expectations on us to provide a wide range of education and professional development opportunities is forever evolving, and the demands are increasing. So that's a big role for us. And then the day-to-day piece, the technical and operational support and guidance that golf club managers need, because the majority of them are running individual small or medium-sized businesses. So they need someone to turn to, someone to come to say, well, look, I need some advice on health and safety or agronomy or finance or HR. Myself and my team, we're not the experts at that. We're there to facilitate that and to find the right information, surround our members with knowledge, guidance, advice from the experts. And we work with a wide range of business partners who invest and support the GCMA and provide our members with that information and guidance. And I think what encapsulates the GCMA and surrounds all of that is the sense of community. And probably the biggest aspect of the association for 90 years now has been, it is a community of golf club managers. And our members get so much from peer-to-peer support, peer-to-peer engagement and learning as well. And my role and the role of my team is to facilitate all of that. So yeah, pretty wide-ranging, but good fun, and keeps us on our toes.
It must be quite a difficult, or not difficult, it must be quite an interesting you must have a really interesting perspective, because not only like maybe the more forward-thinking, what's classed as the more forward-thinking golf club managers role, they're all different because every club's kind of set up slightly differently, but also the old-fashioned kind of club secretary as well. And then you've got proprietary clubs, and then you've got, I don't know if you deal with any particular, council-owned clubs, for example.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've got a huge range of, the demands must be quite considerable when you consider that their list of priorities is very different from Club A to Club B to Club B to Club C sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because so many aspects of the association actually feel quite similar to running a great big golf club.
Yeah,
we have 1,500 members of the GCMA, and there are a lot of different and varying needs and wants and expectations of the association, and we're there to try and serve every one of those as best as we can. And ultimately, golf clubs in themselves, and I know we'll come on to sort of golf clubs a little bit more, but effectively in the UK, we've got 2,400 small and medium-sized businesses all running independently, with the exception of a few that are under sort of group operation management, like the Crown Golfs, the Burr Hills, etc. and therefore the expectations and demands on the general managers running those clubs are different depending on what the committee wants, or the board wants, or the proprietor wants. And you're right, the range of people that we have in, within the profession of golf club management is huge. And I actually think that's a huge strength of the profession of golf club management, as well as a challenge for us as an association. But we've got, if we look at the profession of club management, it's gone from, or golf club management, it's gone from largely being a sort of honorary secretary or voluntary role, as it was for most golf clubs, and then over the past, I would say, probably 30 years, and consolidated more so over the last sort of 15 to 20 years, it moving then from being a second career. A lot of people would become a golf club manager at their club where they've been the captain or been the chairman, and they might move into club management after being a teacher or the military profession. There was a lot that moved into club management, being in the military. And now, particularly, as I say, over the last 15 to 20 years, a lot more people that are golf club management through and through, and have always aspired to work in golf club management, and that's their career. And I'm probably, I'm one of those, having been a golf club manager since my sort of mid to late 20s. And we've still got a great mix of all three. Many of our members or some of our members are honorary secretaries. We've got a lot of our members who golf club management is a second or third career. And we've got many, and an increasing number, I would say, mostly in that sector of it being their profession and the dedicated career. So that's now, I would say, by far the sort of predominant proportion of our members and career backgrounds. But I think it's fascinating, and you can sit in a meeting and around a table with a group of golf club managers, some of whom are brand new to the profession, and it's their first role in management. Others have been in business or other industry, coming into club management as a second career, and able to bring so much knowledge and experience, and share that with the other people around the table. So it's a great learning environment for everyone. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, in terms of what you were talking about, everything feels like it's accelerating with golf club management. So the technology, everything else that they're doing. Is there stuff that's happening that people would be surprised about at golf clubs in terms of the sort of technological side, the streamlining of stuff, the management of, we all know about online tee times, for example, and all that kind of thing that they've all had to sort of take on board, although obviously not all have.
Yes, yeah. When you said, is there things at golf clubs that would surprise people? Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure I could share all of it, but
I'll share some.
Yeah. But no, absolutely, it is. It's evolved hugely, and I think a lot of that again depends on the type of club and the type of leadership that the club is under. So again, if we go back to the more sort of commercial proprietary golf clubs, they tend to be more sort of business savvy and running for the purpose of delivering profit, and therefore tend to engage earlier in technological advancements and management advancements. Perhaps that's not to say they're doing it right and private clubs are doing it wrong, because they exist for very different reasons. Private membership clubs do tend to make decisions, tends to take a lot longer to evolve and change, and that's just how things are in a private membership environment. And there are some absolutely superb private member golf clubs out there that still look and feel the same as they did 40, 50, 60 years ago. Yeah. And wonderfully so. And there are some great examples of that, and they should never change, because that's their character, and that's the appeal. And long may those exist. But there are many that are evolving as well, embracing technology. I think at some point in every conversation, COVID's mentioned, isn't it? So the process that golf went through and the journey that golf went through those 2 years of COVID, a lot more clubs had to embrace technology for the member booking journey, and a lot have stuck with that and realised actually this is a big step forward in terms of customer and member experience, tee sheet management, that whole piece. So a lot of clubs have now stuck with that, and I think that really helped to accelerate that movement. And I think the more we can embrace technology, it will allow people in golf clubs to be more front facing and actually utilizing technology for administration, for customer experience, for online booking, whatever it might be. It allows then the people running golf clubs to get away from their desks, get away from the counter, get away from till operations, and actually spend a lot more time embracing the sort of communication and hospitality side, which is so critical to a golf club environment.
Yeah. I was going to ask you as well, obviously you're in a position, there can't be few who are in a better position to answer this question about the just general health of the industry. I mean, there's been a lot made of the boom post-COVID with the membership and everything else, but where do you see that as a kind of a very broad overview of where we're at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's going to be crystal ball, isn't it, over the next couple of years? But I mean, again, going back to, unfortunately, having to go back to the sort of COVID years as they were. I mean, who would have seen that happening with what happened? But we've been through a steady decline in golf since 2008-ish, all the way up to 2020. And participation had declined year on year for every single year. And then, of course, golf was permitted to continue operating whilst every other leisure activity was closed down, and had this opportunity to, for more and more people to flock to golf courses and, get the clubs out of the garage that they hadn't used for many years, or return to golf, or perhaps play more golf. So we saw increases in membership numbers and participation that had never been seen before as an overnight change to golf clubs and the sport of golf. And that had a huge impact on clubs positively from the point of view of cash flow and membership numbers and the health of their business. I've got to say it had a huge impact in some cases negatively on the people running golf clubs, because that was an overnight, a huge change in how we were running clubs, the expectations on golf club managers to navigate clubs through all of the day-to-day changes and different ways of operating through the pandemic. So it's going to be interesting to see now how we manage the next couple of years. I think the starting point is, had we not had the boom of the last 2.5 years, and we were now heading into this huge economic downturn that we're heading into, we would be extremely worried as an industry. Extremely worried. So I think we can head into this economic downturn we need to head into it with caution, and there are still clubs out there that will be really at risk. But there are far more that are heading to it in a really healthy position. They've got cash reserves, having built up cash over the last couple of years. They've got membership populations that are full with waiting lists.
Yeah.
And so many clubs that I talk to say, well, actually, we think we can sustain the next couple of years. And actually, we've got cash reserves that we can dip into if we need to, so that we don't have to rely too heavily on our members in terms of increased subs. Actually, we've got a waiting list and our membership's healthy. We're looking pretty good. So I think potentially it's going to be the less frequent golfer and those that return to golf during the pandemic, the pay and play golfer. And again, the younger demographic that came into golf and that's where we saw the big increase, were the ones still with big mortgages, the ones that are still got families, etc., and less disposable income. That's the at-risk group. Yeah. So that I think over the next couple of years is going to be our big challenges. Economically, how do clubs survive? And I think a lot of clubs will be okay, some will struggle. Participation-wise, how do we retain a good proportion of what we've gained over the last couple of years? A real focus on getting to know our golfers better, getting to know our members, and how we can adapt our services, adapt the operation of the club to keep those people playing golf and members of golf clubs over the next couple of years as we steer through this sort of economic challenge.
Yeah. I mean, the COVID thing was an extraordinary thing. I got to chat to the sort of the Callaway UK Callaway boss
Right.
18 months ago, and he said, "Look, we literally cannot keep up with demand for equipment. You know, there's no, you know, there'd been a boat had sunk as well to kind of compound the thing. Do you remember that story about the boat sinking in the Gulf of Arabia with like hundreds of millions of clubs, clubs in it, you know? So all this kind of like piled on top, and it was extraordinary that he just said we haven't got the stuff to give to people who want it. So
it's incredible, isn't it?
he said he preferred to have them the other way around, and I was thinking, God, thinking about how much money he's not making.
Yes.
But yeah, broader picture. I mean, just, you know, to finish on really taking that step forward, the evolution of golf club, the evolution of the management. I mean, it's like you say, you have to get your really big crystal ball out for this one, Tom.
Yes.
Because you know, the geopolitical events that affect everything that we do, and climate change and all the rest of it going forward 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So what's your take on where we're heading?
Well, I think yeah, so the, you know, next couple of years is the immediate challenge. I think longer term, there's a big piece around sustainability and environmental sustainability. You know, golf takes up a big proportion of land in the UK, and it's really valuable green space, and it's important that we retain that. And I think golf's got a great opportunity of promoting that message, that actually it's really valuable and well-maintained green space that is good for the environment. We've got some big challenges ahead of us, and I know you've already spoken with Jim at my good colleague at Bigger, and I'm sure he sort of you know, shared these thoughts. But challenges in terms of water usage and chemicals, etc., on golf courses are going to be heavily restricted in the coming years, and that's going to mean changes in how we manage the land of our golf courses. And I think it's going to, without doubt, have a change in, I think we're going to have to really sort of manage the customer expectation and the golfer expectation of what they get from their golf course. We're going to see dry golf courses in the summer, wetter golf courses in the winter. So there's a challenge in terms of the maintenance of the golf courses, but a positive news story about the, you know, the environmental benefits that golf courses provide in their local communities. In terms of business models, I think there's a lot of clubs that have, particularly through this downturn in participation prior to the pandemic, that have sort of gone for that middle ground of trying to be everything to everyone. A bit of family golf, a bit of membership golf, weddings and events. And that business model really doesn't work in my experience. So I think the opportunity now is for clubs to niche a little bit more, and either be proud to say you're a traditional membership club and that's the environment that you provide, and charge accordingly, or actually you are more of a family friendly club, and adapt your model accordingly, adapt your culture accordingly, the environment that you provide, and perhaps needing to tweak the infrastructure and the product offering as well to suit that. So more families are welcome at the facility. There is more available for junior golfers, for beginners, etc. But trying to do the both, in my experience, doesn't work. Yeah. So I think that opportunity really, really sits there for us now, for clubs to identify their USP, their place in the market, and their sort of their target core offering. So I'd love to see that happening, and more facilities going down that sort of family friendly, more of that sort of younger modern feel, in order to attract those new audiences. But at the same time, we've got to retain those traditional clubs as well, because they're fantastic and they'll always have a high value in the industry.
Yeah, and it's worth reiterating as well that it's easy to forget when you compare the UK and obviously particularly Scotland in terms of how relatively cheap golf is to play and be a member of a golf club compared to the USA. You know, France, Germany, Sweden, and all the rest of it. We come out, you know, everything's getting very expensive, but golf actually compared to the rest of the world, I mean, you know, maybe not in South America, and I don't know too much about it, but, you know, in Europe and the USA and everything else, it's pretty cheap over here.
It is. I think it's quite, well, we always say golf is a unique sport, and it is for so many reasons. And I think the cost consideration is one that, let's take an average green fee. For argument's sake, let's say £40. but you're out there for 4 hours.
Mhm.
You know, if you compare that to another leisure activity that might cost a similar amount or maybe half that price, but you only get an hour's worth of leisure time. A trip to the cinema, look how expensive that is now for a family of 4. I mean, crikey, it's we've got Netflix now, fortunately, but yeah, I think it's actually for what we offer, golf is a high value item. It can be seen as expensive, but I think we need to try and change the narrative on that, because golf is a lot more affordable than I think a lot of people from outside the industry believe it to be. And there are lots of facilities out there that you can go and play a 9-hole round of golf for £10. You can buy a second-hand set of golf clubs or a beginner set for £100, and you know, that will last you a good few years. So I think there's definitely a change in narrative around the affordability of golf, and that could have a really positive impact on the sport moving forward.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll end on that note.
Great.
Thank you very much for joining us, Tom.
Thank you, Mark. No, it's great to speak with you. Thanks for your time.
And best of luck with everything that the GCMA does in the future.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Great to speak with you.
Cheers.
Thanks.